RFK Jr. has offered his support to you and your campaign. How do you feel about that?
I'm very honored by it. He's a very smart guy, a different kind of a guy, but very smart, loves our country, has some, I think, very good views on a lot of different things. And I've known him for a long time. We've been somewhat friendly, actually. And I think he's going to be a great asset. And will I have him in the administration? It's possible. We haven't really discussed that, but it's possible. But I think he adds a lot. I think he adds a lot to the election. He's got a good following, tremendous following. I think he adds a lot to the election. And I think he adds a lot to if we win. I mean, he's got some very interesting ideas and good ideas.
Their capacity to go toe-to-toe with any opponent in the battle over ideas. They would be astonished to learn of a Democratic Party presidential nominee who, like Vice President Harris, has not appeared in a single with any opponent in the battle over ideas. They would be astonished to learn of a Democratic Party presidential nominee who, like Vice President Harris, has not appeared in a single interview or an unscripted encounter with voters for 35 days.
We've been listening to independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. from Phoenix outlining what led him to his quixotic quest for the White House to now dropping out.
So he didn't finish and he was cut off. Not what mainstream media wanted to hear, and what was he going to say? Hi everyone, so today we're going to look at Robert F. Kennedy. What character name are we going to give him? You know the drill here. I guess a lot of people call him Bobby. Should we just say Bobby? Doesn't really fit with our characters of duck and camel and okay, well, we have to lighten up the energy. Don't be getting serious with me for laughing now. I remember doing a reading and I was like, it's only recent anyway, and I was like, I like Robert F. Kennedy's energy, like just in general his soul energy. And I mentioned about something wrong with his voice and where the hell is he? And what party is he on? And someone did explain to me, I'm checking if this is recording, that he's neutral. Now, I did want to see his speech because obviously I knew he would have said a speech for stepping down. I then had seen like loads of thumbnails that he contacted Camel to try and join them. She rejected. He then contacted Trump, Duck, to join. Disclaimer, this is for entertainment purposes only. I have not had time to see his speech, and I think he's done a bit more of a speech than I am stepping down, because it showed on his YouTube page 1 hour and 21 minutes. So I don't know if that is a whole day of whatever that was at the DNC. I don't know. But I did want to watch it so that I could get a little bit more of a feel for him. What I did see is like a clip from CNN, and they actually cut him off at an interesting point. I'm going to see if I can find that clip. He definitely has something wrong with his voice box, doesn't he? He does have something wrong there, and that is interesting that I picked up on that. So I do think he's a sensitive soul. I do think if this was an international poll, votes towards the Reds, I think the Reds are the left-righters, would sky high rocketed. I think a lot of like people, maybe in the UK, maybe Australia, I just think people warm to him. It seems like I'm getting like they feel like he has people values and a bit more trustworthy in the game of politics. I don't know why I get that energy. I could be wrong. Remember, be kind to me. I'm not on anyone's side. Okay, I'm just neutral, and I don't think you find many people, and I'll go as far as saying tarot readers, psychics, news and stuff, that are remaining truly neutral. I'm remaining neutral, so please be kind to me. Disagree with me in constructive ways. That is fine. I've not had any bad comments, to be honest with you. I've got amazing subscribers, but regardless, there might be one day I'll say something you don't like. This is a very touchy, sensitive, very tense. The energy's coming up. The energy is very volatile. I said there's going to be twists and turns. I also mentioned that I believe when they finally announced blogs stepping down in July, and it wasn't at the beginning, it was at a time frame to really do harm on the votes. And I think this is a very interesting time frame of a twist. So the question I had, let's see how he's feeling at this moment. Do you know what I want to ask? I want to ask, did he think the lefters would turn him down? Because I think there's a bit of a credibility question here, isn't there? Like, oh, because they've taken you down. And there's also questions on how his family might perceive him, because now he's a lot further away from being possibly one day the president. Like, he was in the running. Maybe the next election he could have come forward. Let me just check his energy. See, I feel he's this kind of energy. Why did he step down? He wants to be there for the people. This is not of any, he wants a victory. He wants to be able to communicate and speak to the people about bringing America together, okay? It's very clear here in the cards. I don't see anything of selfishness, to be honest with you. So why did he do it? I think it's to bring people together. He has a lot to say. I'm going back to his throat chakra. He has a lot to say, and I wonder if he's been silenced. I wonder how his speech has gone, but he has a lot to say. And a lot of it is going to be around bringing people together, thinking of things like, split the deck. Yeah, probably things around like, children, families, maybe your healthcare system, uniting people, probably something around equality, wars. That's his kind of agenda that I'm picking up. Obviously, I'm channeling psychically while I pull these cards. That's what I'm getting here, and it wasn't selfish reason. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm seeing. Okay. So now, this is why I said it might go on to different, a follow-up read, because I do have quite a bit to cover. I actually think, right, those of you that are strongly voting for right, on the right, for Duck, you're kind of like, I'm happy with this if it adds to the votes and if it supports Duck. If it doesn't, I'm not really interested. You know, that kind of energy. It's not kind of like, oh wow, he's in, so I'm like even more for Duck. It's kind of like, if it works in Duck's favor for Duck to win, that's what I want. That's what I'm picking up from a lot of writers. So the red team, it's interesting. I'm getting something of a collision around health and something back in probably the big C years. So I don't know if something happened there or something will come up about the possible new vaccine, something of a collision or something that was said there. I don't know if him and Duck saw eye to eye or if someone slipped up at that time or someone might slip up about the new vaccine, something like that. I do feel that I don't feel it's an upcoming energy. I don't know why I'm getting that. I feel like it's a belief of more or less the past. So I think if anything, just psychically, it's going to not chop, yes, people that might vote for Duck, but to the extent where it's going to supersede the lefters so far in front that there isn't a risk, no. I think it's going to add to it, and I think people are going to feel a bit more relaxed. I think some of the sideliners or people that voted for him might come across. It's interesting. I don't know what are they going to do with the current votes, because they could argue it two ways. What I understand, he's going to join probably as an advisor. Is it confirmed? I'd have to know, but I think he is going to join as an advisor. So they could argue it either way, because in my last reading, I mentioned if he stays in the running, something's going to happen with his votes and they're going to be put towards the Democrats, the lefters, because I felt he was, if between the both of them, he somehow leaned towards the lefters. I don't know if he was a lefter prior or something like that. And I do think they were going to try and manipulate that. Here, I'm not sure if they're actually going to be fair to say his vote should go, or say those of you that have voted for him need to go back to the vote box. Can someone in America let me know what they're saying on that? Because when I saw him speak on that CNN, it was interesting. He was going to say something and it just feels like they cut it off right on time, where they didn't want what was going to be said coming out. I also feel a void in your presidential at this moment in time. And I'm not just talking about blogs being in sort of avoidance energy. No, I'm talking that I think the lefters are so focused on this election, they're forgetting that actually today you've got the office. How about signing off this policy? How about finalizing this? Because by next month you can introduce it. How about looking into this? Because you've got until January. It's kind of like, I feel like there's a void of proper presidentialship, and it's kind of like there's two tiers that are doing stuff, but in the present is lost. It's kind of like the future. It's kind of like if, let's say one of the big, I don't know, one of the big three countries, you know who they are, and I think we need to be keep an eye out on the R country, but I think anyway the leader of that's causing the genocide is just evil, and I think some of his own people want him out. And I said in the psychic predictions I'd do the Middle East separately because I could see it kicking off, but I don't think anyone was interested, and so I don't really want to put my energy somewhere. It's kind of like, it's not your problem, but it gets draining when you put energy into stuff and then you're only getting like 30 views, 50 views, and then there's some of you that are so supportive that just bring me back to it, because I can just work with my clients, but I do want to grow that. I do want to grow a community. I want us to have a voice. So there is a presidential gap in actually ruling what they could be doing today. You understand what I'm saying? I feel that so strongly, and I feel in the past, can you remember my readings? I said you need to be careful on the security around the US, and I think Duck is privy to this more than the left does. I think he is like, I just feel like he's a bit more on ensuring the security of the states, and knowing that we can't show international countries that we're in this saga chaos and we're not looking at risks. And I get it around security and international. I remember what I said about Camel, about other presidential that might think they could just wrap her around their little finger. And that might not be true, but that's what I meant. That's the energy I was getting. It might not be true. She might be underestimated, but I also think that she gives off this energy that she can just sit and debate with herself. But then we've not seen her in position, or I've you know, a lot of people not seen her in position. I'm trying to remain neutral. So I think RFK coming across to Duck is a good thing, a very good thing for the people. I really do think it's a good thing for the people. Remember I said you need a new kind of energy to step in. The very first reading I did on this, I said it's not, the ideal is to have a new kind of feel. And I think obviously the VPs, Vance and Tim, probably add that new feel, and now with RFK it adds that new feel. It's about the president that comes in being open to listen to their advisors and their VPs. And so who's mature enough to feel secure? Pay attention here, it's really important. Who's mature enough and secure in life, and that's more as you get older, to feel like they can listen to their VP, they can listen to their advisor and actually take on what they say. Now, I haven't looked into this, but I really wanted to look into this. I want to look into, so I've never really seen Duck speak, all right, in interviews and stuff. And so I looked at something recently on Dr. Phil, it's like a minute long, where he said about RFK called you, so would you be open to that? He said, I could be open to it. I think this was about 4 or 5 days ago. And it's interesting the way he speaks. His tone is the same all the time. And I think some people will say that it's spellbinding or it's hypnotic. And I do think there's a hypnotic element to it. But then we also need to look something, and I'm happy to do studies on it, but I know it's very sensitive for those of you that like Duck. But if you know I'm coming from a neutral press position, you're going to understand that maybe it's something interesting to look into. Now, if we go back to the reading when I looked at the energy of blogs and the energy, we could see the darker shadow energy around the lefters, okay? And I got a load of comments saying, you know, they've always been dark, stuff like that. So you could see it in the cards, right? But it'd be interesting to study that, because I also think he's a very attentive listener. Like, he will listen to someone finishes. He doesn't interrupt. And this is in the minute of Dr. Phil. And also, what was the other one I saw? Something else that was a couple of minutes long previously. And I still haven't seen the Twitter, by the way. And boy, did I get that right in the August predictions, that I could see the blue bed and Twitter X. Elon Musk kept me busy. If I was to read on everything, the UK, the interview with Duck, the EU Commissioner, Paris Olympics. I don't know if you picked it up on it. I also mentioned it in Paris Olympics, that there would be stuff where people are chained forever and there's more saga to come out. He spoke about 2 people that were competing there. So I definitely got that. But like, where was I going with this? He's very attentive. So with that, there needs to be credit given. And I wonder if he's had training. You know how the UK royals would have training, and some people that are in leaderships have training, and maybe he's done that. I mentioned it in Kamala Harris's reading, Camel's reading. Disclaimer, for goodness sake. That I really would advise, if she became president, that she does some training in that, because with the dark shadow of politics and the other leaders, she needs to be a bit refined in some of that. My opinion, allegedly, disclaimer, etc. Okay, so now let's just see. One more card. Okay, so I actually asked, did RFK have an inkling that the lefters would reject him? And I get yes. And I know it sounds strange, but maybe if he was seen as a lefter previously, or his positioning, he would need to approach them before he approaches, I'm getting download while I say this, well, before he approaches Duck. So I've got here, yes and yes, that he had an inkling that the lefters were going to just not take his call. It's a bit rude not to take his call. I think that's what I was told, or saw, that he wasn't, his call wasn't taken, so it wasn't even spoken to. I've just missed my download. So one download that I was getting is actually, this is before 4 or 5 days that he'd approached Duck. Okay, I think he'd approached Duck, and he tried to approach the lefters prior to what we're getting in the last, was it 10 days ago that this was announced, or 5 days ago? I don't know when. It was actually maybe 2 weeks prior or something. It was prior, basically. It would have been maybe 2 weeks after Trump's attempted something like that. Within that 2-3 weeks, maybe, this was already bubbling talk. Okay, and I don't know why he would approach them first. Maybe he could have had a stronger role with them, a more like stronger role. Maybe he was hoping that Camel would pick, it might have been the time that Camel picked Tim. Yeah, because it wasn't just now, this past 5, or I don't know when it was, 10 days, or 17th was the DNC, right? It was around that time. So 17th, 20th, where are we? A week ago. So a week, up to 10 days maximum. I think it might have been 7 days ago. So, he knew they would say no, or it wasn't, the call wasn't taken. Interesting. So let's just check. I'm also interested, like, so I think it's important, I've mentioned it, that Duck ensures he's got security, and Camel as well. But I feel like there's a lack of security around RFK. RFK, Bobby, which is interesting. So I don't know how that works, but I just feel it's very open around him, and I think he needs some security. I don't think anyone will attempt, because I think there's a good energy, like people are warm to it. Do you understand what I'm saying? You're going to have to tell me in the US if this is true. People are warm to it, but I do feel there's something around his security that's not amped up or something. There's a void. There's a void. I'm getting the word void. So ooh. He felt quite chained to approach Duck. I feel like he contemplated it for a very long time. And he felt quite limited in a sense, maybe after he got the no. He juggled it for quite some time, but then he went for it. And he's happy that he went for it, because he feels like he's been blessed with this yes. But initially it was kind of like a very obsessive thought on, I feel really tied. Can I actually approach him? I feel like he was ruminating on the thought for quite some time, which is very interesting. In the next part, I want to dive into this a bit more, because I think I'm getting, the time is coming up. Let's just see. Yeah, I want to dive into, I've still got a couple of more questions, don't worry. But I want to dive into this a bit more, but I want to check in on Vance, how he feels now. And I've not done a reading like I did for Vance and the others on Tim as well. But I've mentioned him in my readings with the last, I think, what was the last one? Was it, it's the big media. And I mentioned him being like the support and motivation for Camel as she was starting to burn out, join the DNC. I didn't know there was the DNC those dates. This is really interesting. So he got a happy outcome. Ooh. After he spoke to Trump, so he was definitely feeling an internal conflict here. And I think, you know, they might not say it, but the initial phone call was a bit awkward. Do you know what I mean? It was kind of like an awkward energy. But I think he was like, there was suddenly some sort of there was kind of like this eagerness as the call developed or as they communicated. But what's interesting here is the Queen of Wands and the Eight of Wands. I think Trump said to him, I'll get back. Duck said to him, I'll get back to you. So he was a bit obsessing over, like, he didn't get the answer straight away, okay? And I think that left him in this kind of like questioning himself kind of energy, questioning his abilities, questioning his motivation. And there was a standstill of communication for quite a bit. And that's why I said it. This may be why I said it happened prior to this last 7 days of when he actually announced it. It happened maybe a month ago. Like, it's something that we were not privy to previously. And there was kind of still this feeling of frightened to take the risk. So I'm not sure if he spoke out with confidence. And after the call with Trump or Duck, I think he felt like people are going to question me now, kind of like, you know, what are people going to think? What are people going to think? Have I done the right thing? And although he was happy, he kind of started questioning, has he done the right thing? And he still didn't have the answer to celebrate yet. Yet here is him in the stuck kind of energy. I also feel like he might have been thinking, what is his family going to think? It was kind of like a standstill moment for him. No movement forward and no kind of communication. And he was questioning stuff. So can you see a bit of internal conflict here? Let's just see, to be fair, how did he feel after he tried to reach out to the lefters? I actually want to see how his family have taken it and other things. So that's why I think there's going to be a part 2 or like a further read. And I don't want to read too far into like who will win, etc., because there's still another twist. And there are things that are, it's volatile, okay? It seems like what I get is, I'm getting this energy that Duck's votes are always around what they are now. Like it's not surprising. Like when he's up for presidential, he always hits these kind of figures. So it's not surprising. I really feel a really good energy of RFK joining the red, especially for the people, but also the people feeling safer, not because of Duck, but safer in general. And I won't be surprised, and it might have already started, I don't know, but if not, it's going to start. Do you know how they're bringing up, and I don't know when Duck is going in for the justice kind of cases he's got coming up, but that's all I've been seeing from when I do a reading on something, then YouTube will bring up thumbnails that are like, so if I did, for example, Chiron, it might bring me up stuff of like Chiron or missing children or true crime podcasters, basically, and unsolved cases or missing persons. If I do something on the election, it might bring me anything to do with past presidents, the same name of who I'm reading. And so sometimes I see those thumbnails, but what I'm getting is that there's a lot of focus as opposed to, I got it in the last reading as well. There's a lot of focus on his past as opposed to, and I can understand it, but I don't know how serious it is. I don't know how serious some of them is. But it's kind of overshadowing anything that this person then tries to do in the right way, if it makes sense, or anything positive this person does. And I feel like if RFK has had an addiction or anything, and I do think with that voice box there's been an issue with alcohol. I don't know why I'm getting that. It doesn't mean that you will get, but I do feel that. And obviously there's a past lineage of trauma. I think that they might start bringing that up, but I feel like he is ready to rumble, not in a very heated way to attack or defend. I think he's ready to speak truths. I don't know why I'm getting the word conspiracy. So I don't know if some people think that this is all a conspiracy, or if he's going to bring up conspiracy things that are happening, or whether they are, okay? So I don't know why I get that energy, but I think it's something to look out for. Interesting cards, right? So I do think it confirms. Remember how I said I think he knew they would say no. Well, this is how he felt after either they said no or they didn't take the call to entertainment. To me, this is not someone who's sad, right? To me, this is kind of like, I want this new chapter, I'm going to approach. Okay, no response. Fine. There's no partnership in place. He's turned to obviously then look at Trump. But I mean, for me, this doesn't show someone who's upset. It shows someone who's like, what can I do now? All right, I've got this creative energy. I've got things up my sleeve that I really want, which we mentioned in the beginning. I believe that there was a bit of illusion and confusion. I just want to say the energy is shifting out of that confusion that I said would happen. So it's going to be interesting, probably around the 7th onwards, how things are going to become clear. But he was thinking, how can, one second. I'm getting, how can he approach? Yeah, how can he approach? And I think it might deal with, like, does he have to ask the Congress or something? I feel like he needed to clear something formally with the higher up, whatever it is, if it's the Congress, if it's the committee, I don't know what it is, okay? And he needed to do some work or some, maybe forms or something, before he could approach Duck. But that's what I don't see someone who's sad here, inner strength, and the Hanged Man. He needed to think how he was going to do the next step. Okay, so that's that. Now let's just check in right now. Remember, I'll do an energy check-in in the next part. So if you want the following parts of the downloads I was getting as well, let me know. Do you know what I'm getting? That I think more lefters might sit on the side, because I think he is going to be, RFK is going to be saying some things that people that are open to it, whatever side it is, are going to be like, you know what, I'm actually a lefter or whatever I am. There's something that, even though it sounds like a conspiracy that's coming through again, or it sounds like he might be just BSing, some of it makes sense for some reason. And I think people might, who were starting to lean after the DNC towards the left, might be a bit confused. I don't know if I just shuffled these good enough, but anyway. Yeah, I think some people are going to sit on the side, because there's something about his energy that people might be like, he's just taken this up to defend him losing in the voting. And I think he's lost some credibility as a president candidate by doing this move. Like, look, this is how they see him, suddenly vulnerable, and not sure about him being, they're a bit confused why he would do it, and also not sure why he's done this, like approaching the lefters and then Duck, and a bit of his credibility, I think, has been diminished by people. This is overall I'm taking, so there's going to be different slots of people, the overall energy of the people in the US, how they're feeling about his what's happened. Let's get 2 more cards. The whole election and the way things is going is causing a lot of anxiety, tension, questioning what is going to be the outcome here. Is everything going to be okay? There's also a reflection of the past. One last card. Yeah. A reflection of the past of where things have gone wrong, but also I'm getting like what's happened in his past lineage of his family. Like, it's not been great, has it? Right? Was it his dad that was but then there was more than his dad. I'm losing my voice. I feel like I'm starting to feel like how he speaks when he speaks. It's throat scratchy and swollen for some reason. And I wonder, does he have a voice box? There's something there with his throat chakra as well. But people are like, is this going to cause, like, how can I say it? The best way I can describe it, but it's not quite that. Is this going to bring in karma of what's happened to the past in the Kennedy family back in, because he joins this way? Okay. And some people are like, I think what I'm getting now is probably what his family are thinking. So I'm going to leave that. But this is what people are questioning. I feel people are like questioning. We don't want that kind of energy. But at the same time, let's just check something. Interesting cards. So I got, how do they feel? Again, very similar towards him, but this one I'm not sure if it's in reverse. I picked it up in reverse. I'm going to put it in both meanings. The first one was, how do they see him after what he's done? This is, how do people feel towards him? Where people were very solid on fighting their ground of where their votes will be, they're not sure what they're doing. It's kind of like, I don't know where the best is for me and my future family, my stability, etc. Okay. They do feel like he's going to bring a newfound energy in, even in the advisory role, but they're not sure how this is going to pan out. There's hesitation here. So if I put it in reverse, you know, it's kind of like it might move in the best way for Duck. It might move in the best way for the US, but at the moment it's kind of like, I'm not sure how I feel about it. I'm not sure if this is going to move us in the right direction. I'm getting like, we hope it's going to move us in the right direction. And there's definitely Republicans are like feeling this as well. I'm saying all of the US, whether it's lefters, righters, standbyers, RFKs, but supporters, but especially, you know, red team are like, will this move us forward? Are we going to stay stuck? And this is kind of the energy felt, which I said is going to be very difficult to read on the energy. Can I give you my 2 cents on it? Yes. But do I want to say something like that? No, because I want everyone to have hope for who they want. And again, I've mentioned it. I want to do a further check-in because there is so much not being said in terms of behind the scenes that is occurring. Like I said, this discussion around RFK, etc., would have happened maybe 3 weeks after the attempted or something like that. It's not recent. Let's do cards for each party. And then if you want the next part, because I haven't even looked at my notes, you know. I don't think ask the question rightly. I need to think of what I'm asking. Hang on a sec. I also say go back to my readings because I do indicate some outcome. Tell me which one do you think I've asked? In terms of the votes and the winning and the success, how do each party feel at this moment in time and how is it panning out? Who do you think is red and who do you think is blue? Write it in the comments as you see this reading and pause so that you can answer. Are you ready? This is the red. This is the blue. You can't lie about some energy at the moment, right? Reds at the moment, in terms of how they're feeling, in terms of success and what they're seeing, they're trying to move away to more of a peaceful place. What do I mean by that? They're trying not to focus on the drama and the saga, and they're trying to present something to the people to show an emotional connection and show movement forward. Again, this could be around, there's something around borders, there's something around immigration, there's something around wars, and also, because I mentioned it, there's a gap in presidentialship, there's also around standing, showing there's security still for the country. Don't be fooled, right? This is the red at the moment. So how are they looking in terms of their current energy towards, if they're winning, seeing the votes, etc.? That's their energy. How are the lefters feeling? And it might change, might have lefters watching, might have righters watching. How are they feeling at the moment in terms of success and their votes and the overall success of presidentialship? They feel like it's a bit of an in and out energy, or they are in and out. They feel extremely cold. Interesting, I said cold. What could that mean? They do feel very bound and tied, and I don't know who's behind it. If I look at which energy feels more free and open to be able to speak and want to go in a direction of, I feel like this is move away from the past, you know, kind of like, can I just move away from the past? And head towards this. Now, it's not come up, but one thing that I was channeling is, this is all about how you feel as an energetic field. That's how we're moving in terms of humanity. What feels right to our gut, but at the same time, let me discuss this first. So it's kind of like a very, do you know when something's moving along and it's moving, and then you kind of like, let's say, you know those friends you've got where you won't hear from them for a month, then suddenly for a week you'll hear from them every day? It's kind of like that. They're there, their presence gets really ramped up, motivated, and it feels really good in a spark of like making you feel motivated, but there's no solidness in terms of exactly the policies, which is what I was channeling. The policies around what are the policies? I don't know if they've done that yet. What is the solid policies that is coming out? It's more or less on driving passion, emotions, and etc. But something solid, even though we're more energetically bound to what feels good for us, we're more emotionally intelligent and in tune with ourselves. We still need the groundwork of the policies to be known. And I feel that that is where it's not getting shown here. They're very much focusing, this is not telling me in the cards, but it was something I was channeling earlier. So I am picking up on some of my notes already. Focusing on emotions, what feels good to the people, and you know, I'm here as an advisor. Take me as your neutral advisor. Look at the groundwork as well. It feels good. Look at the groundwork as well. What is coming up from both of them? What sits with you, right? So for example, I feel like the lefters might focus on things like they might talk about things that really pull on you. It could be to do with anything that an interviewer brings up, it'll go by. So for example, green earth. It's not called green earth, but what is it? I know that it's environmentally friendly, but there's something about the earth. There's an organization with the earth, right? So let's say climate change, looking after the climate and the environment, which is very important. I feel like they would go with that. But here there's an interesting energy that they are bound, and some of them are more bound, are feeling more bound and tied than what they actually are. Like they remain within the boundaries when in fact you can step out a bit more. They're blindfolded to something. There's some kind of, and I'm getting energetic blindfold. I would really, I don't know why I would really pay attention, because of maybe that CNN clip, what RFK might be saying. If he comes out with a load of stuff he's never said before, then question it. But if he comes out with something, he said it even when he was a neutral party, or if he was ever on a bit more on the leftist side, which I seem to get, and that's why you contacted them first, listen. There's something, so this is how it's looking at the moment. I hope I answered your question. I hope you enjoyed this. If you want the next one where we dive a bit more, I don't know if I've covered everything I channeled, but I do think I want to check on his family. We can check on the energy for the US people, which I touched base, energy in his role. Will he replace Vance? I think some people might think of that. You know, and then do an energy check-in for Camel and Duck themselves. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it answered the question I had in the polls. Take care of yourselves, and I hope you all are still my friend. Remember, I'm neutral. I don't even know what's happening in the UK at the moment. I'm actually thinking to read on Keir Starmer's energy. So if any of you are interested in that, then let me know. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care, support the channel, support the reading if you liked it, of course. Stay blessed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.